Hi, and welcome to Cat Fasting. So today I'm going to talk about what made me decide to use a GLP medication. At my top weight, I had managed to lose about 50 pounds doing sporadic bouts of therapeutic levels of fasting. Actually, even as little as OMAD, so like 22.2. I don't lose weight at 16.8, 18.6, even 20 and 4. I actually have to do a significant period of fasting to lose anything. But in 3 years, I definitely had huge long periods of time where I was back to a non-losing level of fasting. And it was just short little bursts because that's all I could handle at the time. And then in 2023, I did 3 months of being on an antidepressant, funny enough, for anxiety. And I gained about between 25 and 30 pounds in a 3-month period. Discontinued those meds. But I did talk to my doctor about it when I decided to go off it because of my mobility issues, I can't have added pounds on my knee. It's really important to me that I regain my mobility. So frankly, my mental health took a backseat, and I am functional within my anxiety for the most part. Anyway, so she did talk to me about Ozempic, and I did have some concerns about going on that particular medication, not the least of it, the expense of it, because it's completely out of pocket. But I did go on it, and I titrated up from the loading doses fairly quickly, although that's not particularly true. I was on 0.5 for quite a while, quite a few months, just because of shortages, and I couldn't get a hold of the 1 milligram dose until October of 2023. I was really hopeful. I really thought that at 1 milligram that all of a sudden I wouldn't want to eat anymore and I'd be able to go back to my therapeutic levels of fasting, which I hadn't for almost the entirety of the last year. I hadn't been able to do a single day of therapeutic levels of fasting, just stuck to my intermittent levels of fasting. And really disappointed. I'm not a hyper responder in the slightest. And I stayed on 1 milligram of Ozempic until the spring of 2024. And that's when I switched over to Mounjaro. And again, that was an availability issue. Could I get it? But even Mounjaro, here for me in BC, Canada, I couldn't get a hold of anything beyond a loading dose. So I started at 5 milligrams, and it took me until the summer to get 7.5. And 7.5, I did start to feel it kick in. But on Ozempic, I had all of the side effects, all of the worst side effects. It was really quite miserable. I didn't lose my food noise or my cravings, which was pretty much why I wanted to be on these medications. What I got was the delayed gastric emptying, which is not my favorite, given that I am a faster and my eating window is very small. And I am by nature a volume eater. I am absolutely not someone who can eat tiny little bits of food all day long, nor would I want to. I want to avoid an insulin response all day long, because if I'm having an insulin response, I'm not burning fat. So it's really important to me that I have as long of a fat burning window as possible. So I keep my eating windows quite short. So I did have to do a lot of experimenting with low density, high nutrient foods, and starting with liquids and things that are easily digestible, and then moving to things that are a little heavier and harder to digest, like proteins. But I did have food aversion. There was a period of time where I hated coffee, and that's just wrong. But what I did want all the time was sugar. And, I'm guessing that the medication was really working towards maintaining my sugar, and my body was like, what's up with this? This is crazy. You love sugar. And it's true, I do. And that was really annoying. And it just wasn't worth the side effects. I wish I was one of those people where it worked magically for them. I was just not that person. Now, Manjaro has almost no side effects for me, which is an unbelievable blessing. But again, I didn't really get any sort of major benefits in the loading doses. It took a long time. When I was still on 5 milligrams, I did sort of decide, okay, I've got to make a start, even if it's hard. And I've got to get back to more therapeutic levels of fasting. So what I did was I incorporated the 5-2, I hate to use the word diet, but way of eating. And so 2 days a week, I had one 500 calorie meal, just so I could get some calorie cycling in there. And I did start to lose some weight. On Ozempic, I did lose about 15, 20 pounds, sort of the kind they say will happen. And I did see a reduction in inflammation. But on Manjaro, I actually started to go down steadily. So when I did the 5-2 and the 2 500 calorie days, of course, still followed by up days, I mean, I was losing like a few hundred grams a week. And after even just like 3 weeks, there was a day I was planning to eat my 500 calorie meal. And then I was like, oh, I'm just going to go for it. Because, it was a Friday. I knew that I could go to bed at 8 p.m. if I needed to. And I did it. I just didn't eat. And that happened to coincide with when I was just about to start with my higher dose. And from then on, I fasted 2 to 3 times a week. So the GLP medication, one of the best things that it does for me is it controls my inflammation. It really dropped my inflammation. And it shows on the scale. That's the part of weight loss where it's wonderful to see it on the scale, but if I were to go off GLPs, that is the weight gain I would immediately see on the scale. The hard work I'm putting in with my fasting and changing my eating habits is what sees actual fat loss. So I do try not to get too excited about the scale, because those drops are artificially maintained by the GLP medication. So that is one reason why I would like to stay on this drug forever, because as far as my knee is concerned, it is a big reason why I haven't had a major re-injury with it since I've been on GLPs. But, and also, I do want to heal my insulin resistance. That's really important to me. I'm combining GLP medication with fasting to help the healing in both ways. The biggest con for the medication, cons, is shortages. It's been incredibly difficult to get higher doses. I just got my 10 milligram, which I took yesterday, and that's because it just became available in the last month or so. But even my pharmacist doesn't know if it's going to be sustainable at all. So it's a bit frustrating not knowing if I'm going to be able to even get my prescription filled at any time. And it's really prevented me from moving up at a rate that I would have preferred. But I do have to be patient. And the next thing is the cost. I'm paying completely out of pocket, and it is an absolute fortune. I know it's worse in the States, but it is a lot of money for me. And I really do have to dip into my variables. So luckily, fasting does make it cheaper for me to eat. So it's definitely a plus for me. I think it's important. It was important for me to try a different GLP medication after finding that the first one I tried caused me so much side effects. I don't know if it's really necessary for me to have gone through as much as I went through, because it's kind of a crappy way to live, not knowing if you're going to be, if I'd be humiliated in public or need to race to a bathroom or never have to go to the bathroom. Although I have to say the dehydration of Ozempic did work in my favor quite a few times, because I was able to go out and about with no issues at all. But it's definitely something I'm going to stay on for a while. And if the next level, which is 12.5, is available before the end of this year, I may titrate up again just to see what's happening. Anyway, that is why I decided to use a GLP medication. Thank you so much if you watched to this point. I really do appreciate it. And I'd love any comments if anyone else is taking these and how they're finding, especially side effects. It's a big concern. Being on a GLP is not easy. It's not a cheat. There is hard work involved. And I'll continue to do it and hope I get results. Have a good day. Thank you.